Timmy 2000 is an old South Park episode from the show's 4th season. Although this was not the first on-screen appearance of the character Timmy that would go to the season 4 premiere episode The Tooth Fairy's Tats, it was the first episode to properly introduce the character. As with many South Park episodes, Timmy 2000 contains overt social commentary as well as a poignant message. In fact, there are two big topics that are tackled fairly well within this one episode. A primary storyline about the issue of doctors irresponsibly over-diagnosing children with ADD, as well as a secondary plot that follows Timmy as he joins a rock band. Now this episode resonates with me in particular because in my teens I was diagnosed with ADHD and prescribed a medication for it, similar to how the kids in the show were. Even though the show is dealing with ADD, it's still the same concept. I was prescribed Ritalin / methylphenidate to help me pay attention in school. And the way in which the show depicts this entire issue is spot on to my own personal experience, which makes it relatable but also hilarious.
Your son has attention deficit disorder too?
Yes, I should have known. It all makes sense now. I could never get Stanley to pay attention when his grandfather told him stories about the 30s.
Now usually when a film or TV show contains storytelling that is really overt and preachy, I don't like it. I find it obnoxious, self-important and annoying. South Park is one of the few pieces of media that is really preachy but is still something that I get a lot from. And I think this is because the actual messages it has to say are balanced and nuanced. The delivery is obvious, but the dialogue itself is substantive. It does also help that despite the social commentary being extremely poignant, it's also really funny. That's the main thing. Is it funny? In this case, yes. The episode begins in the classroom with Mr. Garrison calling on different students to answer questions on American history. Cartman is afraid he'll be picked out to answer, but just when you think the teacher is about to pick him, the teacher says Timmy, and we get this sudden pan to this new class member.
Let's see. Oh, I know. How about the new student, Timmy? Timmy!
Again, even though this isn't strictly speaking his first episode, this moment is very much his introduction to the class and hence the show. He's the first disabled class member and one of the first handicapped characters who'd go on to become a reoccurring cast member. This reveal comes as a surprise as we weren't expecting to see a disabled character suddenly appear. Visually, he heavily stands out from the rest of the class. He's so nonchalantly introduced, which ties into how the show depicts disabled people as a whole. Casually and honestly, he's just another member of the class, it's saying, but not in a cheesy way. It puts his disability out in the open, showing it loudly and unapologetically. It's not pretending that Timmy is anything other than what he is. Mr. Garrison asks Timmy who wrote the Declaration of Independence. Now Timmy is only capable of saying his own name, so he responds with Timmy.
Timmy! No, it wasn't you, Timmy. Try again.
Mr. Garrison, being an idiot and not noticing Timmy's handicap, just interprets this as Timmy giving the wrong answer. Most of the comedy in this episode comes not from Timmy himself, but all the idiots around him misinterpreting him.
Young man, if you don't want to be held back a grade, I suggest you start cooperating, okay? Timmy!
Well, that does it.
It's a simple joke, but it's hysterical because of all the different ways they apply it. Throughout the episode, they utilise this gimmick in all the effective ways they can without it getting stale. Stan tries to point out Timmy's disability to Mr. Garrison.
Mr. Garrison, haven't you figured it out? Timmy's retarded.
Now, even though this may sound like a cruel description, you do have to remember that back in 2000, saying that someone was retarded was a lot like saying someone was disabled. It was just the way a lot of people would casually define it, and it wasn't as much the derogatory term that it is today. With this line from Stan, the show is simply trying to bluntly announce the truth about Timmy, again just being casual and honest about his disability. Acknowledging people's disabilities can make people uncomfortable, which causes society to be overly sheepish when identifying said conditions. People see it as an offensive or inappropriate thing to address and hence often avoid the entire subject or treat it like a forbidden topic. Here, South Park is just being upfront and direct about the issue, not sugarcoating it or shying away from it. Mr. Garrison tells Stan off for calling Timmy retarded. This might be the show poking fun at society's reluctancy to acknowledge facts out of fear of seeming disrespectful.
Mr. Garrison, haven't you figured it out? Timmy's retarded.
Don't call people names, Stanley.
But he is.
Now, Timmy.
Again, you have to remember that the word retarded back then to a lot of people was equivalent to saying handicapped or disabled. Timmy gets sent to the principal's office because Mr. Garrison thinks he's being intentionally disruptive.
You need to work on your study skills.
Duh.
Are you mocking me? Because if you are, I have no problem sending your butt to the principal's office.
It's so funny watching these scenes of Timmy just being himself and everyone around him thinking he's being rude and getting all pissed off. Mr. Mackey thinks that the reason Timmy isn't responding properly is because he has ADD.
Yes, of course.
That's the mark of the best South Park episodes. They make you laugh when you just explain the plot back to yourself because it's so ridiculous. Timmy is taken to a clinic where a doctor tests him for attention deficit disorder.
Alright, this is a very simple test which should determine without a doubt whether or not Timmy has attention deficit disorder.
Without a doubt. This is the test. The doctor will read the book The Great Gatsby to Timmy in its entirety and then afterwards ask Timmy a few questions about the book. Hours later, Timmy is still just Timmy. The teachers have fallen asleep, proving that forcing people to sit down and listen to an entire read-through of a long novel would be boring to anyone. The doctor finally finishes, then asks Timmy a specific question about the book. What does Timmy respond with?
Okay now, Timmy, can you tell me, in Chapter 7, what kind of car did Gatsby drive?
Timmy! Well, that settles it.
Well, there you go, it must be ADD. This entire scene is brilliant, just satirising how haphazardly these learning disorders are diagnosed, especially disorders that have such broad definitions like ADD. ADD is when you struggle to pay attention in class. Okay.
Well, ADD is fairly common in kids today. I'm going to prescribe some Ritalin, and we'll see how that goes for little Timmy.
That last little Timmy at the end there really got me. With this new diagnosis, at school, Timmy is excused from all homework. Of course, then all the other kids see this and then start saying, hey, I think I might have ADD too. You can hear one child say, I've got ADD, it's gay.
Yeah,
It's gay.
There was always that one kid in class who would just call everything gay. The entire class is put under the same test that Timmy had. Of course, they all get bored to death listening to The Great Gatsby, so the doctor then diagnoses all of them with ADD and puts them all on Ritalin. Now the subplot where Timmy joins a rock band begins. A three-man band are struggling with the fact that their music sucks when they realise that Timmy yelling his name intermittently with their playing was the special sound they were looking for. Meanwhile, all of the town's parents take their kids to the pharmacy to get the Ritalin. All of the parents are buying into this crap too. There's something wrong with my child because he's hyperactive.
Kyle gets so hyper sometimes he runs around and screams like a little 8-year-old.
I am 8.
When asked about the side effects of the drug, the pharmacist downplays them. For anyone who's gone on prescription drugs before, you'll be able to relate to this. In a lot of cases, the side effects caused by these drugs we take make us worse than we were before, and the doctors do a terrible job at warning us about this. In the show, Cartman starts hallucinating Christina Aguilera monsters when on the drug. A little joke about the strange side effects you can discover when on prescription meds. All I'll say in relation to this is that the only time I ever experienced sleep paralysis was whilst I was on these drugs. You can say that my personal experience with these drugs makes me biased towards being in favour of the message that the show is trying to put across. I won't necessarily argue with that, but all I'll say is that I have this real experience to go off which makes me able to see the authenticity in this episode's narrative. The pharmacist also low-key mentions that the child may feel an overall lack of energy, and we see this happen as the episode unfolds and all the kids become boring, mindless losers.
Damn it, Eric, don't you have some smart-ass thing to say?
What kind of smart-ass thing would I say, Mr. Garrison?
This is driving me crazy! I can't handle you little bastards being so mellow!
Another thing that sort of happened to me. It just robs you of all your idiosyncrasies. It's awful. Back with Timmy, he and his band play the Battle of the Bands. Their music is met with mixed reactions due to Timmy's involvement in the music group. A lot of people think Timmy is funny and cool, but there are other people in the crowd who think it's disrespectful to have Timmy up there to be laughed at. Some people love it, but some people are outraged.
Dude, that handicapped dude rules! Yeah! You guys are terrible. How can you laugh at that poor kid?
It's essentially an even split. The show takes a brief opportunity to challenge this point about it being wrong for people to laugh at Timmy. Timmy, who is supposed to be a representative for handicapped people in general.
That was awesome! Yeah, Timmy rules.
Boys, you shouldn't laugh at him. He's handicapped.
But he's funny.
They depict the boys as being supportive and wholesome in their enjoyment of Timmy's music. They find him amusing, but they're more so laughing with him rather than at him. The statement it's making is that it's possible to laugh at the funniness of the handicapped whilst retaining respect and care for them as people, whereas the outraged woman would just permit us from laughing outright.
How would you like to be handicapped? Do you think that would be funny? You're making him feel bad.
He looks pretty happy to me.
Oh, you people make me sick.
The only way in which I'd fault this scene is that there is one demographic that isn't being represented within this argument, that being the spread of people who would see Timmy and be laughing at him rather than with him. With situations like these, it is an inevitability that there'd be people in the crowd who'd be laughing in far more mean-spirited ways, who would be making fun of Timmy in a derogatory manner. It's an important demographic to have included here, as it serves as an argument in favour of the viewpoint that the show is arguing against. It could be said that Timmy shouldn't be up there because there are people in the crowd who are genuinely making fun of him. South Park could have then easily countered this by saying, well, there'll always be assholes in the world who view things in their own prejudicial ways. That doesn't mean that we should keep people like Timmy hidden away from the public eye just because of said individuals. It all just feels like a missing segment of this entire argument, but moving forward, Timmy's band becomes a new rock sensation and is set to open for Phil Collins at Lollapalooza. However, Phil Collins is one of the people who is opposed to having Timmy up on stage for everyone to laugh at.
Well, I think it's a horrible tragedy, isn't it?
Now, Phil Collins is absolutely obliterated in this episode, and it's hilarious.
Phil Collins, by the way, divorced his wife by fax and then married a 27-year-old.
First off, in every scene he's featured in, he's depicted holding his Oscar that he won for his Tarzan song. The significance here is that this is the same Oscar that Matt and Trey were also up for their song Blame Canada from the South Park movie, but unfortunately they lost to Collins.
You know, it's terrible to lose to Phil Collins, especially. It's really hurt me a lot, and I'm ready to do some heavy drinking.
Now, I've seen Tarzan, and that Phil Collins song that they're referring to is fine, but my god, it's so out of place with the rest of the film. Just this obligatory song that starts randomly. It feels like a reactionary decision that's trying to replicate the Lion King effect. We don't have Elton John this time, guess Phil Collins will do. It was an opportunity to give the South Park creators a well-deserved Oscar that was squandered on this mediocre Disney film. This is all understandably quite aggravating, so Matt and Trey decided to get payback on Collins by shitting all over him in this episode.
They're laughing at him, and I think you shouldn't laugh at people with disabilities.
Back at school, now that the kids are all on Ritalin, they've turned into flat, stale zombies. Damn, we're so far back in time, we're still in the Chef era of South Park. Chef, who usually acted as the savvy voice of reason in the early episodes, is quick to take objection to the children all being put on Ritalin. He's the only adult with some sense who doesn't fall for the BS. He has an interesting line about how doctors were always trying to cure everything with drugs as an almost quick fix solution.
Damn it, children, you don't need drugs to make you pay attention in school. In my day, if we didn't pay attention, we got a belt to the bottom. Now they're trying to cure everything with drugs.
It raises a thoughtful question. Is some prescription medication just our attempt to oversimplify certain illnesses? An easy path that doesn't require much discipline or thought. For instance, instead of relying on antidepressants, perhaps we should aim towards improving our daily lives, which takes dedication and hard work. Going to therapy, exercising, getting a good routine. Your mental health is something that needs maintaining, but instead most of us just opt to pop a quick pill and hope that takes all of our problems away. Continuing on with the episode, Phil Collins attempts to sabotage Timmy's band by turning the lead guitarist against Timmy. Now they're just depicting Phil as this mustache-twirling villainous arsehole.
It's too bad those other guys are holding you back. Huh?
We get another really funny scene with Timmy where the lead guitarist is mad at him for hogging all the glory, and Timmy is just being Timmy.
The name of the band is Timmy and the Lords of the Underworld, not just Timmy. Timmy! And the Lords of the Underworld. Timmy! It's always about you, isn't it?
Again, it's this simple gag, but it's being so perfectly utilised and stretched for all its potential. Now he's being misinterpreted as being egotistical. It's brilliant.
Timmy! No, don't try and stop me, man.
On to perhaps the funniest statement made by this episode. So seeing that all of the kids avoid humorless drones, they now not only agree with what Phil Collins has to say on the Timmy situation, but they also enjoy his music.
You know what, you guys? We should go to the concert anyways and see Phil Collins. Yeah, I think Phil Collins rocks the house.
It's absolute annihilation. All it takes for you to enjoy Phil Collins' music is for you to be a completely boring bastard. Mean-spirited? Yes. Funny? Yes. Later, Chef holds a meeting with all the parents to pitch an alternative solution to their kids not paying attention in class. That solution being physical discipline.
I want a horse, I want a big brown horse with a fluffy black tail with a tiny tiara.
Sit down and study!
Now this is an argument that I do not agree with, but the show is bringing this up to make us think. A child is far less likely to mess around in class if the teacher has established a significant sense of punishment. It doesn't need to be hitting, rather any form of assertion that makes the student respect the teacher. This, I think, is an essential aspect of being a school teacher. You need to command respect, you need to illustrate to the children that there are consequences for being disobedient. Once the student starts taking the teacher more seriously, they'll be way more inclined to get their noses down. I remember throughout all of my education, the areas that I'd excel in the most were the ones that were being taught by the teachers that I had a firm respect for. I didn't need Ritalin, I just needed teachers who didn't have their fingers up their arses and cared deeply about their job. And also, for as abhorrent as we may perceive it, I think we can all admit that each of us have met at least one person throughout life who said that physical discipline worked for them when they were young. A life experience that is exhibited by Chef in this South Park episode. These people often say that it straightened them out and that they're grateful for it in hindsight. They actually fear what they may have become without it. This is all for naught, however, as all the parents are hopped up on the drug as well and are hence near enough catatonic.
That video had pretty colors.
It sure did.
What the? Damn it! Have you all been taking your children's Ritalin too?
Yes.
Ah, fudge it.
I love the almost invasion of the body snatchers tone it's going for here. An appropriate depiction of the subject matter. Nothing more ominous than a whole bunch of people having their personalities robbed by a frivolous drug.
Come, see him with us. Yes, come with us.
The point is really hammered home to Chef when he learns that the kids now like Phil Collins' music.
Hold on a second. You children want to go see Phil Collins?
Yes, his flowing melodies are really enjoyable to us.
Oh my God!
This isn't just a joke. Phil Collins' music being shit literally serves as its own plot device in the episode. It's an indicator to Chef that things have gone from bad to worse. Chef confronts the pharmacists who are happy to be making bank off of gullible parents.
All around the country, you bastard doctors are giving children Ritalin. And for every one child that actually needs it, you give it to 50,000 that don't.
That essentially sums up the entire Ritalin epidemic. It's not the drug itself that's the problem, more so how casually it's being prescribed. There are the select few who genuinely do need it, but it's being used as a blanket cure-all. The pharmacists realise the error of their ways when they realise that all of the kids now like listening to Phil Collins. It just doesn't stop. It's played so over the top as well.
My God, what have we done? But if I had known, Phil Collins, my God.
For as much as this is shitting all over Phil Collins, I think the inherent silliness of the gag is an indicator that this isn't something to get worked up about. It's something that Phil Collins could quite easily laugh at depending on how he chooses to handle it. In the final scene of the episode, Chef and the pharmacist sneak an antidote into everyone's drinks. The antidote in question being named Rital Out. Everyone starts coming to, and the way in which they depict all of the characters being cured is they show everyone slowly coming to the realization that Phil Collins sucks.
Wait a minute. Phil Collins sucks ass. Yeah, what the hell were we thinking?
They actually have Phil Collins perform the song that won him the Oscar, You'll Be In My Heart, but here it's just You'll Be In Me, making it sexual.
You'll be inside of me. Deep inside of me.
Everyone boos at Phil Collins and the crowd start chanting for Timmy. We get the crescendoing message of the Timmy storyline, which I think is very well put across.
No, you see, we learned something today.
We learned something today. That's a line that occurred at the end of literally every South Park episode back in this era of the show. I'll never deny that the show wasn't ever preachy or a little bit repetitive. Regardless, there's still a lot to draw from the message of this episode.
Yeah, sure, we laughed at Timmy, but what's wrong with laughter? Just because we laugh at something doesn't mean we don't care about it.
This harkens back to the idea put forth earlier in the episode of it being possible to find something funny and amusing while simultaneously maintaining respect for it. I myself laugh at near enough anything. I'll make jokes about death, the Holocaust, racism. You can laugh at the inherent comedy of atrocious things while still being privy to the seriousness of the topics. Similarly, the characters in this show can laugh at the inherent funniness of Timmy's existence while all the while having respect and care for him, which they prove to do as the series continues. Timmy goes on to be a prominent member of the South Park cast. He is sometimes the butt of a joke, but he's also just there, part of the group.
The people that are wrong are the ones that think people like Timmy should be protected and kept out of the public's eye. The cool thing about Timmy being in a band was that he was in your face and you had to deal with him.
This statement, and for that matter this entire episode, could be viewed as a meta-commentary for the very use of the Timmy character within the South Park show. Like the matter of having a handicapped person being in a band for all to see, having an honestly depicted handicapped person being a television show is a very controversial thing, something that a lot of people would find morally objectionable, especially when said character is being used as a tool for comedy. However, like Stan said, the unique thing about Timmy's inclusion in the show is that it places a disabled person in full view of the public instead of shying away from it. It's an honest, loud, colourful, unapologetic and flamboyant depiction of someone with a disability. The showrunners weren't worried about how offensive the depiction would be. They were just intent on having them there. Here they are, a disabled person. This is what they're like. They exist. Deal with it. Yes, there'll be people who watch the show who will be laughing at Timmy in a derogatory manner, but I think the majority of people, myself included, are laughing with him. We find his existence endearing and hilarious, and his uniqueness stems directly from the fact that he is disabled.
No, I mean poor Timmy's gonna go to hell. He can't confess his sins because all he can say is his name. Timmy! Oh yeah, you're right. I guess Timmy's pretty screwed.
Perhaps it is wrong to laugh, but perhaps not. Perhaps the show is simply acknowledging the inherent comedy of how disabled people can behave without being demeaning towards them. It's a charming form of comedy we get from Timmy. The show is also challenging us by directly exposing us to this type of person, when a lot of us would much rather avoid such encounters as it does make people uncomfortable. No, let them be seen, all their idiosyncrasies on full display.
Timmy, I have a feeling this is the start of something wonderful.
The episode ends with Timmy's band getting back together and playing one final gig while Phil Collins is crowd surfed off the stage and has his Oscar shoved up his arse. There's not much subtlety in that. Now from what I can tell, Phil Collins having this position of what they're doing with Timmy is wrong doesn't stem from any particular real world stance he took at the time. They just made Phil Collins the villain because they were pissed off that they lost to him at the Oscars, and that makes it all the more funny to me. And finally there's a beautiful moment where Timmy defies his disability to enunciate the band's full name, something that he previously wasn't able to do, which got him in hot water with his bandmates who thought he was being egotistical.
Timmy and Lords of the Underworld.
Timmy has undergone a better character arc here than in anything exhibited by the MCU.
Level out, come on!
Get off the stage, you disgusting fat fuck. 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 Get off the stage, you disgusting fat fuck.